afternoon. Happy Monday. Let's go ahead and go through our stuff on the agenda. Test retakes. You guys can just, sign up with me. Either I have students come in at lunch sometimes and take them, or Thursdays during advisory. Bless you. We're going to keep going on sound and categories of ways for 10 points of daily participation. Really quick reminder of the CTE extra credit opportunities I have available to you, so we'll take a look at that. And if you wouldn't mind just slipping in your guys' lab notebook, I'm giving you a couple days for, advance notice, so that way you guys don't forget. I don't think we'll get to it this week. We'll probably start the labs next week, but I still want to make sure you just don't forget. Best to start reminding yourself to put that notebook in your bag, okay? Also, don't forget to get your Chromebook charged when you come in. Please stay at home if you're sick, right? Just a reminder, David, put your face mask up. Okay, look, Friday I got a phone call from Miss Lamar. My daughter was exposed to COVID within 6 feet during school. If you think it's not real, good luck. Please put your face mask on for a reason. Also, quarantine time is lessened if you're wearing your mask. If they call and they're like, oh, who was around that student? Well, if they don't wear their mask, you're staying home a lot longer. So please make sure you're wearing your face mask. That means covering your nose as well. There you go. I want to remind you guys, I am recording lectures like this one I'm recording in this period, and I'm going to post them. So if you guys are sick, you're just going to go to that assignment in Pear Deck, and the video will be posted right next to it. Watch the video. Please do all of it. If you only just scribble a couple of things, I'm not going to accept it for points, and I will send it back to you, okay? And last, if we start labs next week and you're sick next week with labs, you do need to contact a friend or a lab partner and say, hey, I need the data, I'm not here. That's the one thing I can't do is like go setting up labs over and over again. So I do need you guys to get a friend, phone a friend, get the data somehow. And you can write your own reflections and your own clevers and stuff, but you can get the data from them at least, all right? Okay. So reminder, just a little housekeeping. If you guys are not sure what symptoms are, it's always on my agenda. You guys know the drill. It's pretty much like you feel like you're getting a cold, stay at home. And reminder about what happens if you have a positive test near you, like someone shows up around you positive. Or if you're feeling sick, how you get back into class. So all that stuff is still posted on my agenda if you have questions. Here's my daily affirmation for you guys. I stole it from Mr. Guerrero because I liked it in the bulletin. I saw it and I liked it. If you believe it'll work out, you'll see opportunities. If you don't believe it'll work out, you'll see obstacles. So it's like something to think about, the negative Nelly that's always like, life sucks. Well, that's because of the attitude. So you got to think about how you interact with this world, right? So look for the opportunities. Now here's your extra credit options. Don't forget about them. Sunday, September 26th at Napa Valley College from 1 to 4. They're doing the electric drive and bike event. If you guys go, all I need is a photo with the event in the background. I'm not accepting a photo of you in front of a Tesla because you could do that anywhere. But I need to see the Napa Valley College event in the background going on. Maybe even grab some pamphlets. I will allow you to pick which category you want to put that 15 extra credit points into. Like if you need help on a test score, maybe put it there. Other one is this Saturday is the Coastal Cleanup Day. This is a statewide event where we're trying to clean up the trash before it starts to rain, and then all of the water floods the plastic and the trash into the oceans. So, this is just something that happens in California. We try to just clean everything up before the heavy rains come. If you want to go, you have to register in advance. There is going to be a site in Calistoga, which they will update where before Saturday. And it's also community service. Don't forget, you guys, as seniors, in order to graduate, you have to have a certain amount of community service hours. So best to just slowly rack them up instead of being stressed out your senior year. If you're not doing anything, make sure you register in advance. And the last one is the Junior Achievement Tech Innovation Summit. Remember that this is just for high school students. It's Zoom only, super easy. Thursday, which day is it? Hold on a second. Thursday, September 30th from 3:30 to 5:30. We get out at 2:35-ish, go home, get on Zoom. These companies here will be presenting. You got Amazon, Citrix, Grant Thornton, Google, and Salesforce. And all of these people will be presenting on technology careers and what their company offers. It's a good time as a high school student to ask them, hey, I really am interested in this job. What major do I have to do in college? That's always the big question. You're not sure which sort of degree you're supposed to get where you want in life. These are where these little things come in handy. And you know, while everything is Zoom, take advantage of it because it's a lot easier to just deal with some Zooming than it is to drive somewhere. So sign up here and there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and if you guys could all just go on to the Google Classroom and then the link to Pear Deck is right here and we'll pick up where we left off. You guys click on that. And I'm going to take a look at where we left off. I think we were on the video section. So we're going to actually just go ahead and go straight to the videos. David, can you turn the light off for me since you're standing right or you're sitting right next to that switch over there, please? Okay, so this is where we left off. Did you guys see the electromagnetic waves and then this video as well, or just one or not the other? Both of them? Okay, so really quick, this image right here for this video, just to remind you, I'm just sitting here going, you know what, I have to do this for all odd periods. So do you guys mind if I show both of them as a refresher, just because I'm videotaping it during this class? Okay. It's not, these aren't that long anyway, so let me just go ahead and refresh it. So remember the three types of waves that we're trying to remind ourselves of today are light electromagnetic waves that move in transverse waves like jump rope, right? Up and down, up and down. Then the sound waves are longitudinal, those need matter, so it's slower. Light waves are super fast because they don't need matter. And last, the surface wave, which is like the floating on top of the ocean wave, right? And so you feel like you're going in circles because the particle moves in circular motion, even though the energy is back and forth. All right, so let's quickly watch these two. They'll help remind your brain anyways.
Something surrounds you, bombards you, some of which you can't see, touch, or even feel. Every day, everywhere you go. It is odorless and tasteless, yet you use it and depend on it every hour of every day. Without it, the world you know could not exist. What is it? Electromagnetic radiation. These waves spread across the spectrum from very short gamma rays to X-rays, ultraviolet rays, visible light waves, even longer infrared waves, microwaves, to radio waves, which can measure longer than a mountain range. This spectrum is the foundation of the information age and of our modern world. Your radio, remote control, text message, television, microwave oven, even a doctor's X-ray, all depend on waves within the electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic waves, or EM waves, are similar to ocean waves in that both are energy waves. They transmit energy. EM waves are produced by the vibration of charged particles and have electrical and magnetic properties. But unlike ocean waves that require water, EM waves travel through the vacuum of space at the constant speed of light. EM waves have crests and troughs like ocean waves. The distance between crests is the wavelength. While some EM wavelengths are very long and are measured in meters, many are tiny and are measured in billionths of a meter, nanometers. The number of these crests that pass a given point within 1 second is described as the frequency of the wave. One wave, or cycle, per second is called a hertz. Long EM waves, such as radio waves, have the lowest frequency and carry less energy. Adding energy increases the frequency of the wave and makes the wavelength shorter. Gamma rays are the shortest, highest energy waves in the spectrum. So, as you sit watching TV, not only are there visible light waves from the TV striking your eyes, but also radio waves transmitting from a nearby station, and microwaves carrying cell phone calls and text messages, and waves from your neighbor's Wi-Fi, and GPS units in the cars driving by. There is a chaos of waves from all across the spectrum passing through your room right now. With all these waves around you, how can you possibly watch your TV show? Similar to tuning a radio to a specific radio station, our eyes are tuned to a specific region of the EM spectrum and can detect energy with wavelengths from 400 to 700 nanometers, the visible light region of the spectrum. Objects appear to have color because EM waves interact with their molecules. Some wavelengths in the visible spectrum are reflected and other wavelengths are absorbed. This leaf looks green because EM waves interact with the chlorophyll molecules. Waves between 492 and 577 nanometers in length are reflected, and our eye interprets this as the leaf being green. Our eyes see the leaf as green, but cannot tell us anything about how the leaf reflects ultraviolet, microwave, or infrared waves. To learn more about the world around us, scientists and engineers have devised ways to enable us to see beyond that sliver of the EM spectrum called visible light. Data from multiple wavelengths help scientists study all kinds of amazing phenomena on Earth, from seasonal change to specific habitats. Everything around us emits, reflects, and absorbs EM radiation differently based on its composition. A graph showing these interactions across a region of the EM spectrum is called a spectral signature. Characteristic patterns, like fingerprints within the spectra, allow astronomers to identify an object's chemical composition and to determine such physical properties as temperature and density. NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope observed the presence of water and organic molecules in a galaxy 3.2 billion light years away. Viewing our sun in multiple wavelengths with the SOHO satellite allows scientists to study and understand sunspots that are associated with solar flares and eruptions harmful to satellites, astronauts, and communications here on Earth. We are constantly learning more about our world and universe by taking advantage of the unique information contained in the different waves across the EM spectrum.
All right, I like that video a lot because you can actually see everything. And also that's part of the problem with electromagnetic waves is you can't see all of them. The only thing you can see is the visible light. And remember that half of the electromagnetic spectrum is actually super low energy and not going to harm you. But then the other half is very damaging, starting with ultraviolet. You put the sunblock on from the ultraviolet waves from the sun, trying to make sure that they don't give you skin cancer. Then you go up more and more and more, and you end up with higher and higher energy, which can cause damage to your body. And then the gamma rays at the very end of the spectrum are the nuclear weapons, atomic bombs that have so much energy, high frequency pulsating at you that it can literally shake your body and buildings and crumble it down to ash. So that's that range. There's a huge range of electromagnetic waves. And also a lot of questions around like, what can I see? What can I see? You know, am I seeing ghosts, or is it just a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum? Is a lot of those questions that get asked for students a lot of the time. So that's all stuff that we're just like, well, Let's see here, hold on, I got a bunch of verdicts open, I gotta find this period. All right, so there we go. So transverse waves or electromagnetic waves, you saw in the video when they're actually moving, you have an electric component that looks like the transverse wave we've already identified and labeled. But then there's also a magnetic component that is 90 degrees, and that's why they're called electromagnetic waves. As they said in the video, there is a ton of different types. The frequency, remember the frequency is gonna be how often did the peaks pass, right? You're chopping a lot more energy, higher frequency, shorter wavelength. If you have something like a radio wave, radio waves are so big that if I went out into the football field and I started way up here, I could slowly drop down until I go down to the end of the football field. And that is the lowest energy because of the fact that the frequency of the peak is super slow. So radio waves, not gonna hurt you. TV, internet, cell phone waves, they're on the low energy spectrum. But look, half are not. So visible light is the only ones we see with our eyes, the Roy G. Biv. Above that, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma, the frequency goes higher. You can see it with the pattern. And the energy is super, super high. Gamma rays are the weapons, the nuclear weapons, atomic weapons. Radio waves are the slowest, the biggest wavelengths and less peaks per second frequency here. Okay, so that's light. Now let's take a look at sound. So sound waves, we already know, are not the up and down transverse waves, they're the longitudinal waves where you need matter to propagate them, and so the air particles compress and expand. A lot of times in physics, it's hard to identify where the peaks are, so I'm just showing you underneath that wherever there's compressed matter, that's that peaky side, and the frequency would be your the condensed parts and compressed parts, and the expansion part is more like the trough part, if that makes sense, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at some videos, and then we're gonna go over the definitions of why do we hear things loud or quiet? What's the high pitch, low pitch, middle pitch? What does all those things mean? I'm gonna have you draw them so you understand them in a second. So here's a couple of sound videos. All right, so that one covers a pretty good image of what the energy of the particles of matter look like. The next one is going to cover more of pitch. And so this video right here is actually something my students made, and they did a really good job.
Sound is vibration. Smoky skin of a drop. Vibrates. It makes the molecules of air around it vibrate. The vibration is transmitted from molecule to molecule. When it reaches your ear, the vibration becomes a sound. So let's go measure the number of vibrations per second. And that's what we call sound frequency.
Rapid vibrations, high frequencies produce high pitch sounds.
Low frequencies give deep sounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether high or low,
It's icy, forceful, foul, and fair as a frozen harbor line.
I wish you would tell me why. You want to build a snowman, growing up to be a snowman. Who's waiting on us? Okay, bye.
All right, so that one did a good job of showing you pitch, so the high versus the medium versus the low. So now we're going to draw all of that. Oh wait, actually, there's a surface wave one, sorry. Show to zoom. So the last part, before we start drawing, like what's the difference in loud, quiet, soft, or high, medium, low pitch, surface waves. So surface waves, we've already said, they're not longitudinal, they're not transverse, they're a mixture of both. And I told you guys to imagine yourself on top of the ocean and you're trying to swim out and then you go up and then you go back and you're making a circle that's particle circular motion and then the energy is pulling you front and back. Examples of surface waves are earthquakes on the top when the land rolls, and then also on the top of ocean. So this was just a fun little video of a surface wave in action. This is actually a tidal pool in Tokyo, where I think they're trying to break the world record to get as many people possible. But you can see when they start the wave, you can see that surface wave with the people on it. Anyways, they're trying to break the world record, I think, for as many people as they could possibly get into a tidal pool, but you can actually see the circular stuff happening when they do that with all of those floaties. All right, and then the last video on surface waves for the example, this is actually surface waves plus some review of waves in general. Let me close some of these out to get this.
All science videos and lessons for grades K to 8. Math lessons are now available at Generation G. Let's take a look at some surface waves. Welcome to Moving Math and Science and Surface Waves. While the waves that travel within the depths of the ocean are longitudinal waves, waves that travel along the surface of the ocean are referred to as surface waves. A surface wave is a wave in which the particles of the medium undergo a circular motion. Surface waves are neither longitudinal waves nor transverse waves. You know, kind of like a light. In longitudinal waves, the particles move parallel to the surface, and with transverse waves, the particles move perpendicular to the surface. In a surface wave, it is only the particles at the surface of the medium that undergo this circular motion. The motion is both at right angles and parallel when the particles move in a circle. The circular motion of the particles tends to decrease as you move further down the surface. Large bodies of water like the ocean contain surface. During an earthquake, Rayleigh waves are produced and are a type of surface waves that travel near the surface of solids. Circular motion of the medium near the surface produces both longitudinal and transverse motion. Let's take a look at the anatomy of the surface wave. The crest is the highest point of the wave. The trough is the lowest point of the surface wave. The resting point of the surface wave is also called the undisturbed position. It's the position the medium would take in the wave. It's represented on the graph by a line drawn in the center of the wave. Propagation is the direction of the wave. The wavelength, represented by the symbol lambda, is the distance of one wave. It's measured from trough to trough or from crest to crest. The amplitude is a measure of the energy of the wave and its distance that the crest rises above the resting point when the trough is below the resting point. And frequency is the number of waves that pass a fixed point each second Information. If you'd like to know more about waves, this playlist will help. And so, thanks for watching and moving map uploads and map and sound.
Okay, so that's a pretty good summary one as well. You need to review before a test, the videos are in there for you. Okay, so now we're gonna start drawing the sound. So we can turn the lights back on. David, can you turn the lights on, please? Okay, so loud versus quiet, how do we draw that to understand what's going on? Let's go ahead and get your pads out. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a speaker. That's what I'm trying to draw at least when I do this. So I'm going like the speaker looking thing, and the louder things have thicker mass. So when I do that, it's gonna have a lot more particles in the compression section. That's what makes things louder. And then skip, you have your expansion section, and you're gonna still have a lot of mass particles when you're talking about things that are loud. So loud things have a lot more mass behind them. That's why when you saw that guy play the speakers in his car and he was able to break the glass and make the windows shake, he could make the windows shake with his car speakers because this higher quantity of air particles are what's creating that loud sound. The internet seems to be really laggy. Sorry about that, guys. So that's loud. You got a lot more particles coming out of the speaker. And to understand it, I know it's not a wave like this, but we just like to sort of show this so you understand what's going on. So we've got the middle of the wave right about here. And we're gonna just do the amplitude. So we call that the amplitude when it has loudness. It's getting like, let's say that's about 8 inches or something for an example, and then I'll do quiet in a second. 8-inch amplitude. And if you want to type it, you can type it as well. And so loud means larger. Gosh, this is really slow. Come on. Larger amplitude. So that's what we mean by amplitude. Like it's actual, you might think of it when you're looking at this style of a wave, like the height difference, but it's actually the thicker matter particles. That's what we're referring to when we say the amplitude. Now let's try to draw something that's quieter, like whispers. How come? And if you're trying to talk, you sort of feel that, like you're whispering, not trying to push anything out, right? When you're screaming, you're shouting, and a lot of pressure is coming out, right? So that's the difference. So when you draw this quiet speaker, then you're barely gonna have barely any dots, maybe just a couple, right? Just a little. And it might be the same like amount of expansion and contraction there. The frequency can be the same is what I'm saying, but there's just barely any push, barely any matter coming out. So when we're labeling a wave so you understand it, it's half the size. There's the middle. And so then maybe that's like a 4-inch amplitude or something. So quiet is gonna equal smaller amplitude. Small amplitude. And so visually, it's gonna be less particles coming out of your mouth, right? You're just barely speaking, not a lot of force, any of that stuff. The units, this is an important one, so let's put this on the top. And I'm just gonna type it because this ends up getting not as pretty. So the units for loudness is called decibels. Let me get this fixed here. Stretch it out. So unit for sound loudness is called decibels, and you've probably heard of this before in your life. And decibels has a symbol of lowercase d, capital B, and that's the amplitude size. So like you saw in the video, the first video was really more about loud or soft, right? He had the loudspeakers. And because there were so many particles of air being pushed out of speakers, we saw it shred a bag of chips and break glass and make the windows in the building shake. Yes. I don't think it would do it. I mean, you would feel it for sure. You would feel the massive amount of matter pushing on your skin, but have you guys ever sat in those sound chairs? I think like Solage has them. Anybody? Like I think 15 years ago, I went to Solage and did the sound chairs, and you sit in them. That's the whole point, is that it literally, you can feel the sound just like shaking your body a little bit. It's like a therapy treatment is what they use it for, but it's pretty cool. Like honestly, those sound chairs are pretty amazing. And that's what's going on, is it's just a lot more particles of air coming out and pushing on your skin. All right, let me go ahead and take a look before I move on and make sure everybody's got it. Don't want to leave anybody behind. Samantha looks good. Evelyn, make sure you have your decibel units at the top. So when we get into the labs and we start doing all this stuff with equipment, you want to know what the different, like what's hertz? Hertz are frequency. Decibel is loudness, right? All of these little things, wavelengths, nanometers, yes. It says units for sound are loudness is called decibels, D-E-C-I-B-L-E-S. And the decibel symbol you may have seen in your life is lowercase d, capital B. And then I put equals amplitude size, and then I demonstrated the amplitude size down here. All right, let's see, Diana, good. Itzel with the Z, good. Gosh, my computer keeps freezing. Leo, make sure you have the decibel units on the top. You see the green units, so we want you to know what the units are, the decibel stuff. Amanda, good. Michael, good. Leslie, good. Omar, good. Daniela, good. Josue, good. Andres, good. Natalie, good. David, good. Roberto, good. It's low with an X, good. Javier, good. Carlos, good. Nathan, good. Okay, Edgar, Sabrina, Elizabeth, Alexis, they're all absent. Okay. You guys are doing it on the internet. I'm recording this for you. Turn it in when you're done. All right, next. Everybody looks like they're done. Let's go ahead and draw the difference between high pitch, medium, and low. And this was that Frozen, right? This was my students actually put that video together. I was really impressed. But they were like in the choir. This was at Vintage, and they were in the choir, and they have this huge choir thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. Anyways, the high pitch was like the blue dress, like one. The medium pitch was, she said, do you want to build a snowman? And then the low pitch is them cutting the ice one. And so what makes things have high, medium, or low pitch for sound? So we're gonna draw that right now. Again, it's gonna be the way that the particles come out of the speaker. But this time it's all about, pitch is all about the frequency of the piece. Like, are you chopping fast or are you chopping slow? And you can actually feel it if you put your hand over your vocal cords and you try to do high and medium, low. You can feel the vibration is faster when it's high. And when it's low, it's less vibrations per second. So that's what we're drawing here. So I'm going to do another speaker. I know, but that's like the worst, most pathetic speaker I've ever seen in my life. All right. Okay, so high pitch, you're gonna have close lines. Like we're not even, the amount does not matter. So I'm not gonna go crazy with like a ton of dots. The dots and the thickness of the matter is the loudness, remember? The pitch is more like how close the spacing is. So how many peaks per second, not how much air particles. And so to do that with like the wave look, it's like up, up, up. And I know I'm drawing this crappy. Up. All right, I don't like that. I'm gonna do it over. So up, up, up. You guys probably already have it done. The internet keeps freezing on me and making it all crap. All right, come on, internet. All right, hold on, let me just refresh. Just keeps freezing up. Okay, let's see if that helps. I don't know. Why is it turning black? Is your guys' Pear Deck freaking out too? Come on. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Stop it. Frustration. All right, hold on, let's try to refresh one more time. Green, small, drawing. All right, hold on. There we go. There we go. So you see that the frequency of the wave is a lot more, right? You see you have them close together. So that is what we're going to, I'm actually gonna type this. So there we go. So this is high frequency which is your F symbol. High pitch, high vibrations. Vocal cords move quick, sort of thing, okay? High pitch. Now we do the, let's actually go down to the low because medium can be sort of in between. So I'm gonna do a low pitch down here. Same thing, but just low. And then this one is going to be, low will be really far apart, like there's your first compression and then not till like way over here. See how low that is? So the peaks here would be like up and then there you go. That's a low pitch. And so this will be low frequency. And let me try to make it low frequency, low vibrations, vocal cords move slow, high, I'm sorry, high, low pitch. There you go. Now we'll do the middle, and the middle is like in between. So let's get blue. Another speaker. Right. Have a good day, guys. This will just be middle. We'll pick it up. Medium frequency. Yeah. Bye. Medium. Cords move. Medium. All right, that's it.